first video of this new year that I would do something a little bit different and basically do a recap of everything everything Doctor Who that came out last year, basically. I think that's sort of what I'm going to call this video. It won't be everything, but I've basically compiled a list of pretty much every major story release, every major news announcement, and stuff like that. Basically everything we had last year for the 60th anniversary year. Basically a look back on the last year of Doctor Who content and Doctor Who releases. I think especially because for some people the 60th anniversary year was a bit didn't feel very special, considering it was an anniversary. So I wanted to look at, exactly what it was that we got. I was going to do a similar video as well, sort of looking forward to this new year, to 2024, everything we know we're getting. But aside from the new series in May, which we know very little about, and a lot of upcoming Big Finish releases, which I don't follow current Big Finish. I want to, actually. I want to get more into current Big Finish releases, but I don't listen to the newest stuff, so I have very little to say about those things. And aside from that, there's really very little that we know is coming in the new year, but we know everything we got last year, so that's what this is. I'm basically going to go through the year month by month, and yeah, this is near enough every major news announcement, every major release, story release, or a couple of merch releases, stuff like that. And that's basically what this video will be. I hope you enjoy it. It's a little bit of a different format. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. As I say, this is not every single thing from last year, so if there's something that I don't mention that you think is worth mentioning, pop it in the comments, by all means. But yeah, let's crack on anyway with this is what I've got sort of on my list. So starting us off in January, the first release I have for the year is on January the 5th. The the BBC audio The Ice Kings was released, which is a 12th Doctor audio, I believe. Not Big Finish. This is an audio released by BBC Worldwide. There were a couple of these last year. They don't really get the same sort of spotlight that the Big Finish gets. But yeah, we got a couple of them, starting with this one. Also on January 5th, a Big Finish release from the audio novels The Dead Star. It's a second Doctor release. I think the audio novels are a bit more like audio books than some of the more traditional Big Finish audio plays. I don't think they're quite as full cast, but I'm not sure. As I say, a lot of the Big Finish stuff, I don't listen to a lot of it, so I don't have too much to say, but yeah. On January 9th, we had the casting announcements of, first of all, the returning announcement for Gemma Redgrave, and also the casting announcement of Aneurin Barnard. Is that how you pronounce his name? This is for the upcoming series, Season 1, Series 14. I think I'm still going to call it Series 14. I can't be doing with this Season 1 rubbish. But yeah, the casting of as Roger William, who I think we know is in episode 4, and of course Gemma Redgrave. This was an announcement for her return for the series, wasn't it? Not the 60th anniversary, because she was then filming with Millie Gibson, which is why a lot of these casting announcements happened, is because people were then filming on location, and so were spotted in public. But that was on January the 9th. Then on January 10th, the release of Torchwood Double Part 1, Big Finish Torchwood story. This is an autumn story, if I'm not mistaken. On January the 12th, we had the Diary of Riversong, Friend of the Family box set. Is this the one with Mel's in it? Or is that yeah, I think so, because I think the next one is the one with Jackie Tyler and the Crotons. I'm not sure exactly, but I think I'm picturing, you'll have the picture of it up on the screen, but I'm picturing a sort of a yellowish orangey cover for this. But yeah, I'm interested in the Riversong audios, but as I say, I haven't listened to them. On January the 13th, there was the release for the Series 13 special soundtrack. So the music from Eve of the Daleks, Legend of the Sea Devils, and The Power of the Doctor. Of course, the last release from Sega Nakanola. One thing I really loved about Sega Nakanola as the composer is that we got the soundtracks pretty much immediately after, or not very long after, the series or the episodes they come from. When you compare that to, the Series 10 soundtrack, which now, coming up to 7 years on, we're still waiting for. It's nice to have. I didn't pick up any of the soundtrack. I don't buy the soundtracks, but I have loved Sagan's work, and I miss him already. I really do. On January the 18th, there was the release of the 8th Doctor Cass box set, which is technically the 8th Doctor Time War box set number 5, but it doesn't say it's a Time War on there. But it's called Cass, reintroducing the character who died in Night of the Doctor. It's a very weird concept to me. I haven't checked it out. I'm not sure I really care to. I haven't heard too much about it. But yeah, that released in January. On January 20th, I've got another couple of casting announcements for Anita Dobson and Michelle Greenidge. This was for filming of The Church on Ruby Road, it seems, although I do believe both actors are in somewhat recurring roles. Obviously, Michelle Greenidge is playing Ruby's mum, and Anita Dobson is Mrs. Flood, who's there's all this recurring mystery about her that we're going to be getting. So both of these cast members are going to be recurring, but I believe when they were announced, this was while they were filming The Church on Ruby Road. A lot of this stuff was stuff Millie had done first of all, because Shooty was still doing Sex Education, so I believe the first couple of months of filming Millie did without Shooty while he finished that job, and then he came on to do his stuff. On January the 24th, there was the single release of Class, The Secret Diary of a Rhodian Prince from Big Finish. I am a bit of a fan of Class, the TV series. I haven't checked out the audios, but they do intrigue me. And this was just a fun little single release. Will we see any more from Class? I don't know, but nice to have it. 26th, is when the collection season 9 was announced. So when I've got that, which of course then released a couple of months later, and it was announced with the trailer with Joe Grant and those two girls and that little baby sea devil, and all that stuff. And then also on January 26th is when we got the release of part 2 of Torchwood Double, which again is an all-time story. The Torchwood stuff seems to have overtaken the original, not overtaken, but has sort of replaced the original monthly range of adventures to become Big Finish's monthly release series, which, well, I kind of understand the appeal of the box set approach. I do like having an adventure every month, but I think it's kind of nice that Torchwood gets to be that now. And then into February, on February the 2nd is when the volume 12 of the short trips was released. I'm thinking of getting into some of the short trips, because it's a format that intrigues me. And yeah, like a lot of the early main range, a lot of the early short trips are pretty affordable. And I want to check out some of the newer ones, the ones from the Paul Sprague Memorial Competition, because those ones are released for free, and are supposedly very good. On February the 8th, there's the first Ninth Doctor box set of the year, as was Shades of Fear. The Ninth Doctor Big Finish stuff, I remember being very excited when they announced it, and it actually, in a way, sort of led to me doing a full rewatch of the new series, with my mum as it happens, because I was talking to her about the fact that Chris Eccleston was coming back on audio, and she mentioned about wanting to rewatch his stuff, so we did a whole we started watching back in 2020. Now this was started watching, the modern show from the start again, which we only got around to finishing early last year, I think. But the Ninth Doctor Big Finish stuff, I think it's cool, but it doesn't, as it stands, it doesn't interest me. What would really tempt me with the Ninth Doctor stuff is Rose. Do a box set with the Ninth Doctor and Rose, and brand new stories that don't rely on old companions or old monsters, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, that you're putting the Ninth Doctor with Cybermen or the Brigadier or Sontarans or Sea Devils or whatever. But personally, I just want to see the Ninth Doctor and Rose in new adventures. I don't think it's out of the question, but if they announce that, then I think I'll be there for it. On February the 13th was the standard release of the collection, season 24. Sylvester McCoy's first season, the only standard release for the collection this year. They're trailing a little bit behind, although they've got a new one coming out this February as well, I think, season 17. I don't get the standard releases because I get the limited releases, the original releases. On February the 14th was Torchwood, The Last Love Song of Susie Costello, of course starring Indira Varma, who is going to be in this new series. On February 16th was the release of the first Doctor Adventures, The Demon's Song. Am I right in thinking that this was the first release with Stephen Noonan as the first Doctor? I'm not sure if there was one before this with him in it, but it was certainly the first one properly, where it was like the new status quo for the first Doctor Adventures with Stephen Noonan. That new style of sort of artistic drawing cover art. Yeah, the first Doctor stuff is interesting. There's just, I'm intrigued by all of the Big Finish stuff. But there's just so much of it that you can't keep up. On February the 21st was the release of the 11th Doctor Chronicles, All of Time and Space. Now this, the 11th Doctor Chronicles, and there was another release later in the year. I have heard nothing but fantastic, unanimous praise for the 11th Doctor Chronicles with Jacob Dudman and Sophia Ingar, which started with the release of Geronimo, and then into, All of Time and Space and further releases. I think I might, it's a bit of a plunge to get all of those releases, but it's just been Christmas and I've just worked a load, and so when the next paycheck comes through, if it's a good one, I think I might take the plunge on the 11th Doctor Chronicles in time for the final release in that sort of ongoing story with the victory of the Doctor, which is in February or March, I think, this year. I think I might take the plunge because I've heard nothing but good things, and it's really, really intrigued me. And then on February 23rd was the release of the Third Doctor Adventures, The Return of Jo Jones, which is, I believe that's like the Third Doctor meets an older Jo. Yeah. Again, like a lot of Big Finish, it seems interesting, but it's not like the 11th Doctor stuff, which really intrigues me to the point where I'm genuinely really considering taking the plunge on it. The Third Doctor stuff sounds interesting, but I'll take it or leave it, In March, March the 2nd was the Fourth Doctor Adventures New Frontiers, which I think is at the first volume of Series 12. There's so much Big Finish stuff, and there's so much Fourth Doctor stuff as well. Then on March 8th, we had, of course, the 8th of March, which is the series Big Finish does to celebrate International Women's Day. If I'm not mistaken, I hope I've not got that wrong. But this is the one with Missy and Caitlin Blackwood as Amelia Bond, who, what's very scary is now she is about the same age that, I think she's now the same age that the character Amy is during the main bulk of the 11th hour. And she looks so much like Karen Gillan, it's quite scary actually. Then also on March 8th was the launch of the Lost in Time mobile game. I haven't played this. Is it worth it? Is it any good? I don't know, it's not really piqued my interest. I don't play mobile games really, but it seems interesting, but I've just not ever bothered with it. On March the 20th, I've got this here, and this might be quite wrong. This might be a little bit wrong because some of the stuff was a little bit already struggling to find information on Doomsday, which I think we can pretty safely say kind of was a bit of a damp squib, right? But I've got the announcement for Doomsday being on March 20th with that rubbish video with the terrible green screen and a CBeebies performance from Suze Kempner, which is no offence to Suze Kempner. I'm sure she's great in the audios that they released, which of course I haven't listened to. But I think the way that she was sort of directed to perform in that video and just sort of everything, just sort of everything with did that video really was just about the worst first impression possible for Doomsday, wasn't it? A bizarre concept for a multimedia event. Yeah, it just didn't quite work. But that's when it was announced anyway. March 20th was also when the collection season 9 was released officially. It's always a little difficult to pin down exactly when when stuff like this releases, because different people get it on different days, depending on where they order it from or whatever. But officially, it was released on March 20th. I had a lot of fun with season 9. I did an unboxing for it on this channel way back when it first came out, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think my least favourite story was probably the Day of the Daleks or the Time Monster, which was okay, but Day of the Daleks I didn't really vibe with, maybe that's a hot take, but I really loved Curse of Peladon. I really enjoyed the Sea Devils, and I had a lot of fun with the mutants. And on March 23rd was the release of Torchwood Thirst Trap. I don't know actually about this. I don't know really anything about this story. As I say, I don't keep up to date with the Big Finish stuff, certainly not the Torchwood stuff. I haven't even finished TV Torchwood. I watched the first 2 series a couple of years ago, but I've not even got around to Children of Earth. I don't know why. I'll get around to it one day, no doubt. On April the 3rd, is when I've got the casting announcement for Jinx Monsoon, who we still don't know what character they're playing. I think we're fairly certain they're in episode 2, which is The Devil's Court, but we don't know for certain. But I think I don't know. On April 5th was the release of the 5th Doctor Adventures Conflicts of Interest, the first of 2 5th Doctor releases last year. I didn't hear much about this one. On April 13th was The Robots Volume 6. I did not realise that there were 6 volumes of the Robots of Death spin-off series on audio. In a way that I'm not surprised, because I think they're fantastic designs, and you do get a fair bit about that society and their city and stuff, their planet, in that story. But yeah, The Robots Volume 6 was in April. I don't believe there's any more of the robots to come, but there might be, who knows. On April 18th was the release of Torchwood Launch Date. This one is with Reese, is it? I want to say it's with Reese. I might be making that up. That might be the last one. On April 20th was the release of Rani Takes on the World Beyond the Bannerman Road. I was a bit tempted by this. I have a great nostalgia for the Sarah Jane Adventures. I was basically the perfect age for it. And so we got 2 of the Rani box sets this year. Last year, sorry. Starting with this one. I was tempted. I think if I'd heard really glowing praise for these box sets, for these stories, I think I would have taken the plunge. But as it stands, I'm still considering it, but they're not the top of my priority for current Big Finish to delve into. And on April 24th was the announcement of the return of Murray Gold as the composer. If you've seen some of my other videos, you'll know my thoughts on Murray Gold, and if you don't know my thoughts on Murray Gold, basically I don't care for the fact that he's come back to the show. I think he is a fantastic composer. I think a lot of the work he did for the show previously, in the initial 12-year run that he did, I thought was fantastic. I did not care to see him come back, and I don't really think, other than the 15th Doctor's theme, is pretty catchy and it's getting stuck in my head. I will grant him that. But basically, other than that, I haven't felt that any of the music he's produced has convinced me that it was worth bringing him back over getting someone new in, you know. But that, it is what it is. In May, on the 3rd, was the first release in the Big Finish Once and Future series, with Past Lives. This was with Tom Baker and Gemma Redgrave and Ingrid Oliver, I believe. And the Crocodile People. The Once and Future has not, from what I've seen of that, it doesn't interest me at all. It just seems like a weird dartboard approach. I mean, I know everyone goes on about the Big Finish dartboard approach, but Once and Future really feels like that's all it is. I don't know, have you listened to it? Do you think it's good? I don't know. On the 5th of May, we got the casting announcement for Jonathan Groff. And I'm not sure exactly when. I think it might have been a little bit after this when we got that photo of them, of Shooty, Millie and Jonathan, in the sort of Regency outfits. But yeah, he was announced to be in the series on May 5th. On May 10th was another 9th Doctor box set. This was Pioneers. I don't recall too much about this one either. It's a bit of a shame that in the span of a couple of years, the 9th Doctor on Big Finish has gone from something really exciting and almost unprecedented to just like, oh, okay, it's another 9th Doctor box set. I think that is a bit of a shame, and I think if you were to put Rose in it, if you were to sort of finish the ongoing story, what they're doing now, and start a new storyline with Rose, I think that would revitalise the 9th Doctor stuff a little bit. Because you get that with all the other Doctors. The 8th Doctor's got like 100 different companions, basically for that specific reason. But, you know. On May 11th was the release of Torchwood Among Us number 1, part 1. This was like a 3-part story, a little bit like Aliens Among Us and Gods Among Us. Right, it was like a big epic Torchwood audio story, which they do sometimes. But as far as I'm aware, it was basically just another release in their ongoing monthly series. I don't know. On May 16th was The War Doctor Begins, Comrades in Arms. The War Doctor Begins is interesting to me. I think from what I've heard of Jonathan Garley, he does a fantastic job. And they're still, even though they're newer, they're still inexplicably more affordable than the original Big Finish War Doctor stuff. On May 23rd was the release of the 6th Doctor Adventures Purity Unleashed. This is a storyline as well that I've heard good things about, with Ruth Madeley as Hebe Harrison. So maybe I'd be somewhat interested in checking out that sort of ongoing storyline. But I think Purity Unleashed was the 2nd or 3rd of the Purity series box sets. I think 3rd maybe. On May 24th was the casting announcement for Indira Varma, who of course was in Torchwood before. She is playing the Duchess, I believe. We do know that. In the episode with Jonathan Groff, which was announced here in May. And on May 25th was the release of Daleks Genesis of Terror, which is, I think, easily the Big Finish release I've heard the most bad things about from the past year. I just heard that it was basically just a bit of a money-grabbing sort of re-release of Genesis of the Daleks that changed basically part 1 and nothing else. Yeah, I did not hear good things about this at all. Then into June, on June 6th, was the release of The War Master Solitary Confinement. The War Master stuff intrigues me. Apparently that's a pretty good ongoing series. I don't know if this was the strongest book set in it from what I've heard, but it sounds like a fun series. On June 7th, Bonnie Langford was announced to be returning. This, again, like Gemma Redgrave, was for Series 14, Season 1, not for the 60th anniversary, although people pretty quickly worked out that she was also going to be in the 60th anniversary. But this announcement was because she was then filming with Ncuti Gatwa on the motorbike moped thing as well, so wasn't she? On June 8th was the release of The Ark, which was another Big Finish adaptation of an original script from The Ark in Space, I think. I heard absolutely nothing about this, so, you know. On June 14th, Once and Future, The Artist at the End of Time was released. I remember this caused a bit of controversy because the original cover artwork looked horrible because it used a load of AI art, and so, to be fair to Big Finish, they listened and they changed it, and it looks a lot better now. But yeah, this is like, it's the Fifth Doctor and it's Georgia Tennant in the same story together. Okay, but like, Big Finish have done that before. They did that in the first year in Red Dawn. They did that, so it's not that exciting. On June 15th, Lenny Rush was announced for the new series, playing a character called Morris, who it seems is going to be somewhat of a part-time companion. He's BAFTA award winning. He's a real up-and-coming star, Lenny Rush. I just saw him just recently in the Taskmaster New Year's Treat episode, and I thought he was great in that, so it'll be interesting to see him in this new series. On June 21st, another Fourth Doctor Adventures release, Angels and Demons. Again, I don't have too much to say about the Fourth Doctor stuff. I don't hear much about it. So, yeah. And on June 27th was the Seventh Doctor Adventures Far From Home. Again, the Seventh Doctor stuff, I don't hear. I've heard really good things last year about a lot of Big Finish, but the Fourth Doctor and Seventh Doctor stuff has just totally slipped under my radar. It really has. So, you know. And on June 29th was the release of Torchwood Among Us 2. Part 2, at least anyway. Again, my thoughts on that are as they were last time. I don't keep up with the Torchwood stuff. Into July now, on July the 5th, was another audio novels release, Prisoners of London. This is with the Fifth Doctor and his sort of iconic TARDIS team of Nyssa, Tegan and Adric. Almost got all their names wrong there. Yeah, and the audio novels have that weird sort of watercolour, sort of smudged look to them, which a lot of Big Finish artwork has now, which was really interesting the first couple of times and is now a bit like, oh, okay, it's this style again, is it? You'll just be able to hear, that's a boiler that's turned on there. I can't really, I can't do anything anything about that, so hopefully it's not too distracting. On the 12th of July, there was also the release of Unit Nemesis Masters of Time. Which, another modern unit story. I don't really keep up with the unit stuff. It seems like it was really interesting a couple of years ago and has sort of petered out a bit now, but it's still going on. Also on June 12th, I've got here, I thought it was worth mentioning, was the Barbie TARDIS cross promotion by Tower Bridge, the sort of pink TARDIS. This was around the time, of course, of the release of Barbie, which our new Doctor Ncuti Gatwa was in. And so, there was a cross promotion here with the pink TARDIS, which I think, according to the wiki, is an in-universe canon event. It's called Come on TARDIS, Let's Go Party. It's a cross promotion. On the 13th of July was the announcement of the collection season 20, which is one that had been rumoured for a long, long time. It felt like it had been the next one coming for a long, long time. But we got it announced with that trailer with Deacon and Nissa, where they teased us with them being gay. They queerbaited us again. They can't keep getting away with this. But that was when that was announced, and all 9 discs were announced. Also on the 13th of July was the release of the most recent batch of Target novelizations. So this was Kablam, Planet of the Ood, The Zygon Invasion, The Waters of Mars, and Warrior's Gate and Beyond, all published on the 13th of July. I haven't got any of these. I really want to. I had started collecting the Target novelizations I'm sticking to the new series stuff. I'm not getting all the new stuff, all the new Target releases. But I got basically all the first wave. I got Rose, Day of the Doctor, Christmas Invasion, Twice Upon a Time. And I got a couple of the others as well from the second batch of releases. I got Dalek, Crimson Horror and The Witchfinders, but then I've not kept up with the Target releases. So stuff like Fires of Pompeii, Eaters of Light, these releases, I just haven't kept up with them. But I do want to get all the new series Target novels at least, and there are some stories here. I think these are a really great batch of stories to novelise, with Kablam and Planet of the Ood and Zygon Invasion and Wars of Mars. They're all top picks, I think, so I would love to pick them up at some point. On July the 19th was the reveal of the 14th Doctor's Sonic Screwdriver, and then subsequent release of that as a toy from Character Options, which sold out pretty much instantly. A decent design Sonic Screwdriver, but it's already been replaced by a remote control, so on July 20th was another release in the Once and Future series. Was A Genius for War, which was with the 7th Doctor, which I heard was decent, but the story of Once and Future kind of plods along, not going anywhere. On July 25th was the 2nd Doctor, James Robert McCrimmon box set, with an old Jamie. The 2nd Doctor stuff, because they're currently doing like season 6B post-war games stories, right? That doesn't really appeal to me. But it came out in July. And on the 27th of July was the release of Torchwood Among Us Part 3. And that was it for the Torchwood Among Us releases. August now, another BBC Audio on August 3rd, The Teeth of Ice, which I want to say was a Ninth Doctor release. I could be mistaken there. But yeah, another BBC Audio that just sort of slips under the radar a bit. Also on August 30th, another Ninth Doctor release, Travel in Hope from Big Finish. Was this our last Ninth Doctor release of the year? Might be. There might be one more, I don't know. But yeah, I've said how I feel about the Big Finish Ninth Doctor stuff. On August 10th was another Torchwood release already. We got Sigil. This was one with Murray Melvin as Billis, wasn't it? One of his last performances. Also on August 10th was the Doomsday book Extraction Point, which had the Second Doctor and the Ninth Doctor and the Slitheen on the cover. I haven't read it. On August 16th was Two's Company released from Once and Future, which is the most Big Finish starboard story I think I've ever seen, with the Sixth Doctor, Jackie Tyler, and Lady Christina. Just a baffling idea for a story, to be honest. Also on August 16th was the reveal of the first lot of B&M figures for this last year. This was the First Doctor and Dalek from the Five Doctors, the two Necros Daleks from Revelation of the Daleks, and the Sixth Doctor in his coat from The Ultimate Adventure, and TARDIS. I don't collect the action figures anymore. I haven't done since I was a kid, not out of any sort of snobbery, but I'm not made of money, and I think especially when you look at I don't want to throw shade to character options, because I do think the people who make those figures, they make them with a lot of love and a lot of passion. But I think when you compare the character option stuff to other action figure like things, stuff like Star Wars and Marvel and the sort of stuff they get, which of course are a lot bigger brands, but the Doctor Who stuff just doesn't really hold up. On August 22nd was the Diary of River Song, the Orphan Quartet. Was this the final River Song box set? I think it might be, and I think this was the one with Jackie Tyler and the Crotons, right? Big month for Jackie Tyler, if true. Also on August 24th, you had Doomsday, the Doomsday release 4 from Doomsday. That's not the audio, is it? I think this was short stories, or maybe it was BBC audio, but it's not the Big Finish release. But I don't recall what. I think it might be short stories. I don't know. As I say, Doomsday I didn't care for it, and I didn't write it off like a lot of people did, but I had no desire to get on board with it either. So also on August 24th was when Josephine and the Argonauts was published. These books as well are really interesting. These sort of classic story remixes that they've been doing the last couple of years, which sort of initially snuck up without much fanfare, and we've got a few of them now. I might pick those up because they started with like the Camelot book and the Wonderful Doctor of Oz, the Return of Robin Hood, I think, and then we had Josephine and the Argonauts, and another one a little bit later in the year. Has anyone read these books? Are they any good? I don't know. And then on August 30th was another Sixth Doctor box set, Purity Unbound. I believe this was the final release in the ongoing story of Hebe and Purity and all that stuff, which again sounds interesting. I might check it out. Then into September the 5th was the release of the Fifth Doctor Adventures in the Night box set, which I heard pretty good things about, more so than the previous Fifth Doctor release. Yeah. On September 7th was another BBC audio release, The Beast of Sky Hill. I think I got confused a bit earlier. I think this is a Ninth Doctor story. So maybe The Teeth of Ice is a 12th Doctor story and the Ice King's it. I don't know. Or maybe The Teeth of Ice is... I don't know. As I say, these ones slip under the radar a bit. But that's when it released. Also on September 7th was the release of the official annual 2024 with both 14th and 15th Doctors on the cover. I don't get the annuals. On the 12th of September, another Once and Future release, The Martian Invasion of Planetoid 50 with David Tennant and Michelle Gomez, which, sure. On September 14th, another Torchwood release, Dog Hop. And then on September 18th, a big day because it was the release of the collection season 20, which I did a video about on this channel, not an unboxing, but I did a review of it once I'd watched all the stories. So if you want to hear my thoughts on season 20, go check that video out, it's on the channel. But also on September 18th was the release of Redacted Series 2, which I have not finished. I listened to the first part of that. I listened to the first series of Redacted. I thought it was decent, but it didn't really click with me or connect with me like it did with a lot of other people, which is fine. And I enjoyed the first series overall, but I did not care for the news that the producer of the first series, Ella Watts, was basically very unceremoniously dropped from Redacted and replaced by James Goss for Series 2. And it was a reduced episode count, and rather than being weekly releases, it was all dropped on one day. So whatever sort of hype there was for this basically dissipated instantly. So I listened to the first part, but I've yet to pick up the rest. Maybe I will, but I don't know. Yes, then on September 19th was the release of Rose Tyler, The Dimension Canon Trapped, which is at the third release in the Dimension Canon series. Surprises me that they're still doing that series, but hey-ho. Then on September 21st was Doomsday Dying Hours. This was the Big Finish release, yes, with the 4 stories. Again, Doomsday is a bit of a blur to me, to be honest. On September 27th, we start ramping up to the 60th anniversary because Doctor Who Unleashed was announced. The sort of follow-up spiritual successor to Doctor Who Confidential. I enjoy Unleashed. I think Stephen Powell he's got a good energy, and it's nice to see behind the scenes stuff. It's nice to have a program, a dedicated program for it. It's not as good as Confidential, but I do also think that a lot of my reasoning for that is based on nostalgia for Confidential. So, I hope that it does for younger kids watching the show now what Confidential did for me back in the day, which is to inspire people to get into film and television and to work in the industry, and also to sort of, when it's very scary, to say it's okay, it's not real. On September the 28th was the day of the Doctor Who at 60 concert, where we first heard, although it wasn't the broadcast of it or anything, this was just the actual concert itself, the day of the concert, where they first unveiled the 15th Doctor's theme, lots of previous themes and stuff. I have listened to the concert on BBC Sounds. Sounds like it was good fun. On September 28th, another one of those, I think they're Puffin classic books, are they? Rebellion on Treasure Island, which is a very rare 11th Doctor and Clara story, which I'm quite intrigued by. I think I do want to pick that one up. I might pick that one up, and if I enjoy that, seek out the others in that range, because I really like it. And am I right in thinking that that series still keeps the old logo? I think it does. Also on September 28th, another Big Finish release. This was Gallifrey Warring Manoeuvres. Yeah, sure. The Gallifrey stuff, there's only so much Gallifrey Time War stuff I really care for. But, it's nice for people who enjoy that stuff. Into October now, October 5th, another BBC audio. This is The Lagoon Monsters. I don't know who the Doctor is in it. Is this one? No, it's not. I thought it was the 13th Doctor one, it's not. I didn't realise there were so many BBC audios this year. There's loads of them. Also on October 5th was the release of Time Lord Immemorial from the Once and Future range. This was with the 9th Doctor and David Warner's Unbound Doctor, which is very fun. And the last thing on October 5th was the reveal of the second sort of wave of the B&M releases. So this was the Remembrance of the Daleks set, the new Dalek set, the Bronze Dalek and Dalek Sec, and the Deadly Assassin set. And I don't think, was there another one? No, I think it was just those three. Yeah, the B&M stuff, it just seems very weird choices, but I guess they're going for what sells well. But I don't know, does a set of three old men in robes, does that really sell well? I don't know. On October 10th was the announcement of the Whoniverse on iPlayer, and the fact that everything was going to be on iPlayer. It was all going to drop at the same time and be in the same place. So that was announced on October the 10th, and then of course a little bit after that there was all the stuff with Steph Coburn and An Unearthly Child, leading to that not being on the iPlayer. But hopefully that'll get on there eventually, but we'll see. On October the 11th was another Third Doctor release, Intelligence for War. This was with this was a season 7 story with Liz Shaw, yeah. Interesting, but the Third Doctor stuff, he's not my favourite Doctor, and the Big Finish stuff just doesn't massively appeal to me, really. On October 12th, a book that really, really slipped under the radar, 10 Days of Christmas. Is it 10 Days or 10 Doctors of Christmas? No, it's 10 Days of Christmas, because they're all 10th Doctor stories, which, yeah, I've heard nothing about. It just sort of came and went, feels like. And it's very interesting to release a book solely about the 10th Doctor. Just seems a little bit odd to me. On October 17th was a return for the Paternoster Gang on Big Finish Rogues Gallery, which is that the first release in the sort of Trespassers sub-series, or is that yet to come? I don't know. But it's nice that the Paternoster Gang still get releases. I think audio is the best place for them to have a spin-off, because you don't have to do the prosthetics on Dan Starkey and Neve McIntosh every day like you would on TV. On October 19th was the first in a trilogy of Torchwood Ood stories, starting with Odyssey. I like the Ood. I like Silas Carson as the voice of the Ood. I love the fact that the these stories bring back characters from the Impossible Planet, which I think is a fantastic story, and they're a good group of side characters. So maybe I might check out these Ood stories, I don't know. On October 23rd, we had the announcement that Series 15, or Season 2, had officially begun filming before we'd even seen the 60th anniversary specials. I understand why they're so far in advance, but I'm a little bit sort of nervous. I would be very cautiously optimistic about them being so far in advance. But I suppose if we want Doctor Who to be sort of on annually, it kind of has to be now. Either that or it takes a massive hit in production quality and stops trying to compete with, its competition. And it kind of can't really do that, so, On October 24th, we had the announcement of Kate Herron and Brian E. Redman announced as writers for an upcoming Series 14 story. I'm fairly sure we know this is the Regency one with Jonathan Groff and Indira Varma. This was the first bit of news for the new series that really, really got me excited. I'm not familiar with Brian E. Redman, but Kate Herron directed the first season of Loki, which I thought was fantastic. Of course, she didn't write it, but she'll have been involved with the story, and I thought it was fantastically directed. And I remember seeing someone suggest that is she a potential for a successor to RTD eventually? And just that idea really excites me. I think she'd be fantastic to take over from RTD because she's got the experience of big productions. She's worked as a director, she's worked as as a producer, exec producer, she's worked as a writer, she understands sci-fi, and also it's a woman, and I think it's about time we had a woman as a showrunner, a female showrunner. So she's my pick, I think. I mean, we'll see how her episode is. If her episode's bad, we'll see, but at the moment she's my pick to take over from Russell when he eventually leaves, whenever that will be. If he decides to step down again or if he dies, she's who I would like to see take over. On October 25th was sort of the last release in the Once and Future series, but it sort of wasn't. It was the Union, which is kind of the culmination of the story, but there's also the Coda, which is coming this November, like a year later, so very, very odd. But yeah, that was the culmination of Once and Future, as far as I'm aware. On October 26th, we had Fraser Hines' Evil of the Daleks novel published. I haven't seen about this. Was it any good? Because I don't know. But a good day for if you're a book fan, because also on October 26th was the release of the Decades collection, the 6 novels. I don't remember what they're all called. But you've got stories like Wannabes, The Monster in the Cupboard, The Self-Made Man, Imaginary Friends, and 2 others. I can't recall the names of them now, but these books are beautiful. I've seen a couple of them out in the wild. I really want to. This is the problem, is that there's so many great things are releasing, and I just don't have enough money to buy it all. But I'm very, very tempted by the Decades collection because they just look so. They're so beautifully presented, and I'm sure I recall someone saying that one of them, and I don't remember which one, was just a fantastic story. So I suppose I just have to get all 6 to find out which one that was. But I'm very, very tempted by them. And on the final day of October, on the 31st, was when we got the reveal of the Universe Ident, which I really don't know how I feel about it. I think it's okay. I think the music could be a bit more Doctor Who-y, but I'm already kind of sick of it. And it really feels like they've MCU-ified the Doctor Who, which, listen, I'm an MCU fan, but I don't like that. Then we get into the big month, November. So, November 1st was the launch of the Whoniverse on iPlayer, of course. You also had Tales of the TARDIS releasing as part of the Whoniverse, which I thought was decent. I didn't make a video about Tales of the TARDIS, but I thought they were okay. My favourites were definitely the Time Meddler and the Mind Dropper ones. The others I thought were alright, but there's the two 60s ones I really, really loved. And you also had the Talking Doctor Who documentary with David Tennant, which I watched. I thought was alright, but I didn't get too much out of it. And the Doctor Who at 60 concert was broadcast. That and the Talking Doctor Who documentary were both broadcast on BBC 4 on the 1st of November, and then subsequently were on the iPlayer as well on the Whoniverse. On November 2nd was the release of the 8th Doctor Audacity box set with a new character called Audacity. I'm coming up to the 8th Doctor, first encountering the 8th Doctor in the monthly range with my Big Finish listen through, and then I do kind of want to start dipping in and out of the 8th Doctor stuff, because, you know, he seems like a lot of fun on Big Finish. On the 3rd of November was the announcement of the novelisations of the 60th anniversary specials. That's when I've dated it. I'm sure it was before that, but evidently not. Which was fantastic that we're getting them so quickly. They're coming now. Depending on how long it takes me to get this video out, they're already been released, because they're coming out on January the 11th. I think I'm going to get them. I'm thinking I'm going to order those three and the Church on Ruby Road novelisation, because I want to talk about them on this channel. On the 7th of November, the second Torchwood Ood story, Whodunit, which 10 out of 10, fantastic title, no notes. On November 7th was the Titan Comics Once Upon a Time Lord release. This was by Dan Slott, wasn't it? And it's a 10th Doctor and Martha story. Looks fun. But, yeah, you know. Did I ever release that 9th Doctor Comics video? I don't know if I did. I filmed a video ages ago. Oh, no, I didn't, because I wasn't happy with it. I filmed a video. I got a load of 9th Doctor Titan comics, and I filmed a video, but I think I'm going to refilm it because I wasn't happy. But yeah, I don't get too many of the Titan comics, but you know. On November 9th was the War Master Rogue Encounters release, which contained the final performance from Murray Melvin as Billis. And I think then you've got, the War Master, there's one more box set next year and then that's it. But from what I hear, it's a pretty consistently strong series. On the 13th of November, so on the 13th of November was the release of the Underwater Menace animation. Was it released then, or was it just announced then? No, yeah, it was released then. I missed the announcement whenever it was announced, which was a lot earlier in the year, but it was released on the 13th of November. I haven't checked it out. I've spoken a bit about the recent animations. I'm not much of a fan, but I'll watch it eventually. Also on November 13th, we got the announcement of Nicola Coughlan. Is it Coughlan? Oh, she says it in the video. I've forgotten how she says it. From Derry Girls in next year's, now this year's, the 2024 Christmas special. On November 15th was the publish when the Art of the Audio Adventures Big Coffee Table book was published by Big Finish, which looks very interesting. I don't think I'll pick it up, but really cool way of celebrating the art. On November 16th, the Utopia book was published. I'm still not quite sure what this is, and I haven't seen much about it, but maybe I'll pick it up, maybe I won't. I don't know. On November 17th, it was Children in Need. We got Destination Scarrow. If you want to hear my thoughts on that, go check out my video, which I made at the time. My thoughts have not much changed. The long and short of it is that I wasn't a fan, basically. On November 21st was the 10th Doctor Chronicles Defender of the Earth release. I've heard nothing about this, it's gone totally under the radar. On November 22nd, the Adventures in Water and Light Cardiff Bay water show was unveiled, which ran for the sort of weekend, which was an interesting little thing, a cool thing to do, but I watched a video of it, but it doesn't really, it looks okay, but I think it'd probably work better in person. And then on to the big day, so a lot of stuff, of course, a lot of stuff happened on November the 23rd, is Doctor Who Day. We got the Daleks in colour, which was broadcast then. I really enjoyed Daleks in colour. If you don't know my thoughts, you want to check out my thoughts, go check out my video on the channel. A lot of people did. I was really quite surprised actually by how well that video did at the time, and has sort of continued to do since. It keeps, ticking up in views and stuff, which is really cool. It's cool that people are interested in that story. But if you don't know my thoughts on that, go check out my video. There was also the repeat of An Adventure in Space and Time with Shooter Gatwa edited in, which was a really cool highlight. I kind of wish I'd watched it live, but it was great to see, and I think, and again, that was one of the first proper things we'd seen of Shooty, and just that little wink he gives, I was like, okay, I'm on board. We also got another audio novel released, The Box of Terrors, which is a third Doctor story with Omega, I think, which is cool. There was the announcement of the official podcast. I think the podcast is good. I have thoughts on the podcast. I keep talking about doing a proper review of the 60th anniversary specials, which whenever I'll get round to that, I don't know, but I want to talk about the podcast in that because I have thoughts on it. But overall, I think it's good. There was also the Liberation of the Daleks release. I believe it was from Titan Comics. They released it, even though it's of course from the pages of Doctor Who magazine, which is from Panini. Of course, you'll notice I've not talked about every release of Doctor Who magazine, but that's sort of that's a monthly thing anyway. And it was also November 23rd was also the release of the Illustrated Rose novelisation, although some people got it with the name of the story missing. That looked cool, looked fun, but not really for me. On November 24th was when we first got the sort of rumours about the Sea Devil spin-off show, The War Between the Land and the Sea. That still baffles me, because why would you make a spin-off about sea devils? I don't think the title's very good. Just a really weird idea. But I thought it was worth mentioning in this because I had forgotten about that until I started looking at everything we got this year, and I was like, oh yeah, that thing. And then November 25th was the broadcast of The Star Beast on BBC One. If you want to check out my initial thoughts, go check out my video that I did, my initial reaction video to that story, which was not the most positive initially, but it's on the channel for you. Also on the 25th was the broadcast of the Secrets and Scandals documentary on Channel 5. I still have not checked that out, actually. I keep meaning to, but I've just not got around to it. On November 27th, I've got this here. I'm not sure it was here, but it's where I've got it anyway. It was the release of the Series 1 to 4 and Specials Blu-ray, which I think was overall quite underwhelming, right? The artwork was a bit underwhelming and everything. Personally, I mean, I have all those old stories on physical media anyway, but they're on the iPlayer. I am waiting personally for if and when the new series gets done in the collection style, which I think actually one thing about, as much as I don't care about Series 14 being Season 1, if we're resetting the numbering, I think by the time the classic run is done in the collection, we can start doing the revived series in the collection from Series 1 to Series 13 and the specials. And there's a good cut-off point there before the 60th and shooting and stuff, so that if I get Series 1 to 4 on physical media again, it'll be then. And the final release in November was the 11th Doctor Chronicles Broken Hearts, which, again, I've heard nothing but good things about. I'm really, really very tempted with the 11th Doctor Chronicles. And then finally, into December on the 2nd, we have the broadcast of Wild Blue Yonder. Again, if you want to check out my initial thoughts, my reaction is on the channel. I enjoyed Wild Blue Yonder. It was definitely my favourite of the three specials. On December the 5th was the sort of Christmas release of the 8th Doctor in the Bleak Midwinter, which I think sounds like it was a good release. On December the 7th was the announcement of the Celestial Toymaker animation with a really interesting animation style. Good to get that story animated. It'll be interesting to see it in full. I'm not sure when exactly it's due to release. Also on December 7th was the final Torchwood Ood story, Oracle, and two more BBC audio stories, the Romanov Project, which is a 13th Doctor story, and the Cuckoo, which is a 12th Doctor Clara Colehill School story, I think. I did not realise there were so many BBC audios this year, but they're cool. On December the 8th was the Art of Regeneration sort of sculpture on London's South Bank with the 14th and 15th Doctors made out of regenerated materials, which ran for a couple of days through to the 11th, I think. Cool idea, cool thing. Not much to say about that, but I thought it was worth mentioning. Of course, on December the 9th was the broadcast of The Giggle. Again, if you want to see my initial thoughts and reaction, go check out my video. An interesting story for sure. And on December the 11th was the release of the Goblin Song as a single. It did pretty well, all things considered, in the charts. Didn't make it to Christmas #1, but that was released on the 11th. On December 13th, the final War Doctor Begins box set, Enemy Mine, was released. This is the last one, isn't it? I'm fairly sure it is. But yeah, Enemy Mine, with Jonathan Carley. Yeah, if the War Doctor Begins, I'll have to see what people thought, but it's an interesting idea, and I think it's actually a really great way of continuing to tell War Doctor stories without Sir John Hurt, and the fact that it's a younger version of the character. Even if Jonathan Carley wasn't as good at that voice, which he is, he's fantastic, but you can forgive him more because it's a younger version of the character. On the 14th of December, they announced the novelisation of The Church on Ruby Road, and that cover artwork by Lee Binding, which is very different for the Target range. It is a Target book, which I was a bit like, oh, they've changed it, but it does look a lot more like a young adult novel now. I don't think that's a bad thing if you're trying to get new fans in. Sure, yeah, and it's a good cover. On December the 18th, the release of the 60th anniversary specials on DVD, Blu-ray and Steelbook. I didn't pick up any of these, of course, but they look good, although I do think there were a couple of things that were missing from what I heard. Not massive omissions, but just some stuff that you might expect to be on there that wasn't. On December 19th, the 11th Doctor Chronicles Everywhere and Anywhere was released. Again, I heard nothing but great things about this. I'm very tempted by the 11th Doctor Chronicles. I think I want to take the plunge in time for Victory of the Doctor. On December the 20th, Rani Takes on the World, The Revenge of Wormwood was released. Again, if I hear more about these Rani Bannerman Road sets, I might dive into them, because I do have a lot of nostalgia for that series and those characters. Then, of course, December 25th, the broadcast of The Church on Ruby Road. Again, if you want to check out my thoughts on that, if you don't know my thoughts on that story, my sort of somewhat initial reaction review, then yeah, check out that video. It's just at time of recording, it's about 97, 98 views. I'd love for it to just tip over 100. That'd be very cool. But yeah, and then on December the 28th, we had the 7th Doctor Adventures, The Last Day, Part 1, released, which seems a very interesting release, but very reliant on previous Big Finish stuff. We've got The Last Day Part 2 coming out this year now, and then I don't know if we know any other 7th Doctor releases coming out after that. I'm not sure. And then, just slipping in right before the end of the year, on December 29th, was the release of Short Trips, the Hogsdeath Time Capsule, which was the winner of the Paul Spragg Memorial Competition, with the 6th Doctor, with Colin Baker. And that's it. That's everything I've got on my list, everything I thought was worth mentioning. There are a couple of things, of course, stuff like the bargain on special and stuff that I didn't mention, but yeah, if there was any big omissions you felt I missed, pop them down in the comments. But that's basically it, my sort of Doctor Who year in review for 2023, for the 60th anniversary year. Overall, a pretty good year. Obviously lots of Big Finish, as there is most years, but lots of other great stuff as well. Here's to a great 2024, not only for Doctor Who, but also for this channel as well. Hopefully, I'm going to continue to grow it. I'm a lot more free in January, so I want to try than I have been in December. So I want to really try and get a load of stuff, at least recorded, that I can then, release. But I really want to try and, focus my efforts during the initial of stuff going, really get the momentum going in time for the new series in May, which of course I will be covering. But yeah, thank you very much indeed. If you are still watching, thank you very much for watching this video. Thank you for listening. And yeah, what was your favourite release in 2023? What was your favourite Doctor Who thing in 2023? There were lots of great stuff, great things to come out. I'm trying to think what my favourite was, because a lot of the Big Finish stuff I don't really get. I always like the collection sets. Some of the books really tempted me. It was great to hear about the 11th Doctor Chronicles, which I'm very tempted with. And the specials were good fun. But I think my favourite Doctor Who thing from this past year, from 2023, has been this channel. Starting this channel. I started back in February, and for the majority of the year, actually, it was very sporadic, but the past couple of months especially, uploading more things and really getting involved with the 60th anniversary celebrations. It's been a lot of fun, and I hope to continue that momentum throughout this year. So yeah, I hope you all have a great 2024, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.